Well, what is that number? Okay, that number is a large number, over 1 million, right? Well, that number represents the amount of policies under the Citizens Insurance here in Florida last year. That was the peak of what they had. Okay, but where are they at now? Because we heard all this, that rates were going to be coming down, Citizens was getting rid of policies because other insurers were picking up. What are those? I'm going to show you a chart that goes back for the last couple of years here and shows what Citizens had going on and where we are as of last month's numbers, okay? But first, what this show's all about, this is Bubble Watch, and we are here in week 45 actually to look at the housing market up here in this Jacksonville metro area in Northeast Florida. I do this show every week. I'm just a regular guy, happens to be a real estate agent up here in North Florida, and I take you into the back of my MLS. In fact, this is some of what we're going to look at. Okay, we're going to be looking at active listings, okay? That is going to be your inventory. Then we're going to take a look at what's active under contract, how many went pending in the last 7 days, how many sold in the last 7 days, and a whole lot more. We're also going to take a look at that new home sales data to see how many they sold in the last 7 days and what their active inventory is. Well, the winds are picking up definitely here, so I hope this microphone's doing a good job of keeping the wind noise out so that you can hear what I'm saying. Okay, all that data now is going to be exported into an Excel spreadsheet. It's going to look something like this, okay, which is a little bit hard to read. So I put it into my own Excel spreadsheet that I've cleaned up like this that makes it easier to follow week by week and also year by year, okay? Because I'm in my 3rd season doing this. And so we get all that numbers crunched together and just makes it better. Also, something else that I do. I'm the only show up here that shows you those median sold prices per homes and also the median sold price per square foot on a weekly basis so you can track it. Everyone else has a monthly report that comes out and it's 2 weeks after the month ends before you even read it, okay? I do this weekly, and if you want to turn it into your own monthly report, then have at it. You can just put the numbers together and average them out, and that's fine also. All right, before we get to those Excel sheets, let's see what those interest rates did this last week. All right, here we are looking at the rates, and every chart, we've got 3 sets of these charts to go over. We're looking at your 30-year fixed, and we're going to look at the FHA, and then we're going to look at the VA. Okay, the first 30-year fixed is conventional. So we all start at the bottom here, and this is where we left off last week, okay, right, this number's here. And we see on this particular chart, we left off at 6.78. Over here on the right is the arrows, up or down. Now, even though we had a lot of down arrows, they were very small down, okay, amounts, okay? So as you can see, we ended up at 6.71. Okay, FHA rates are generally a little bit less. So we could see last week we were at 6.22. And, some down arrows here also, and we ended up at 6.13. So we are in the right direction. Okay, VA generally follows along with the FHA pretty close. Last week we ended up at 6.24 and ended up at 6.14 for this week. Again, going in the right direction. All right, well, we're still solid in those 6s, okay? We're out of the 7s, it looks like, and then we just got notified that the rates were going to stay this way for a while until they go and meet again. It probably looks like even if they have some reductions during the year, we're still probably going to be in the 6s for the rest of the year and probably into next year, 2026. So this is where we're basically at. There might be a little fluctuations up or down, but not a whole lot. All right, so right now, let's just get to those Excel sheets and see what all these numbers were. All right, here we are into my Excel spreadsheets, and what we're going to start is this column right here in yellow. Okay, this is our current column, and if you see the other yellow columns, those are the previous 2 weeks before us. Okay, this column to the right here that's in white, that is last year at this time, so right away you can compare year over year. YOY is the year-over-year percentage in differences between the 2 columns. And the blue column here, SFH, is that your single-family homes. That's where I just pull the single-family home data out and show it, by itself. Over here is, this column shows the individual rows, what they are, active listings sold, active under contract, pending, and so forth. So let's start off with this week here. We start off with our active listings, which is our inventory. 10,377, so that is an increase. It's been going up, jumping up, 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 up. All right. Now we see, look at the difference between last year at this time. Now, how many sold in this last 7 days? 487. So that is up from last week. We're still down from that 2 weeks ago, but it started going back up. Okay, how many are active under contract? 1,430. That number is up. Okay, almost the same as last year. Pending, 373. Amount pending are down. Okay, now active under contract, what that means is those people, okay, they put in a contract, got accepted, but they still have contingencies like, you know, inspections, appraisals, or financing. Once those contingencies clear, then it goes into pending status, okay? Then from pending status, it closes. But not all pendings close, so we got to watch that. Total under contract, 1,803. That is where we add the active under contract and the pending. So we can see it's about the same as last week, okay, at this time. But these are up from the 2 weeks ago. All right, withdrawals. These are people who it's an active listing, but it can't be shown. They've stopped showings on it temporarily. Okay, now this one here, there were 63 of them that withdrew their listings. Expireds, those are the ones that actually did not sell and went off market because, you know, who knows, maybe the price was too high, or just, you know, the quality of the homes. You know, I did a video about that last week. All right, that number is 146, so that's up from last week. New homes sold jumped up to 103 from that horrible last week of 57. Still less than the week before. New homes active, this is their inventory, 2,332. Now this orange right here is where I show the percentage of homes sold that are new. And so here we're back into it again, back into the 20s. Last week was a real dip down to 13% for whatever reason. Here we're at 21, just over 21% of all homes sold were new construction homes. And of course over here in the blue column is your single family homes. Now this Excel spreadsheet that I use on the show is available for download from a link in the description of this video. And this Excel spreadsheet goes all the way back to when I first started the show back in May of 2022. So if you're interested in seeing all of it and having this for yourselves, you can go to the description and get that link. All right, how did people pay for these homes? Here we keep track of what cash buyers, conventional mortgage, FHA, VA, and other. And so as we can see here, we see that the cash, okay, still up there, you know, over a fourth, okay, conventional, 37 and almost 37 and a half, FHA and VA, pretty close, 17.86 and just under 15. Others, okay, jumped up again this week, 3.08. You know, as those rates, you know, stay up there, then I would expect to see other, you know, increase. All right, these numbers below are the actual units that sold for those individual types of financing. So we see out of the 487 sold units, we had 130 were cash, 183 conventional, 87 were FHA, 72 VA, and 15 were other. Okay, next here I take a look at the foreclosure numbers of active listings. Okay, these are not your total foreclosures for all this area. These are the ones that are in foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, or short sale status that are active listings for sale in the MLS. Okay, this week we've got 66 foreclosures, 21 pre-foreclosures, 46 short sales for a total of 133, so about the same as last week. Next, I take a look at how many homes sold, the percentage that sold under list, at list, and above list. All right, we see there almost 74% sold under list price. Okay, 17% there sold at list, and 9.24% sold above list. And I always mention this because we get a lot of new people, that above list isn't like it used to be when there was a lot of competition. That's what that meant. Right now, things have changed to where we're seeing smaller amounts above list, and a lot of it because people want concessions. And a lot of it has to do with they want concessions to pay the real estate broker fees. So the buyers ask for the concessions, and that's how they'll work it out. Also, a lot of people need help with, with their closing costs. The buyers do. All right, the numbers below are the actual units that sold for those different categories, and you can see 359 out of the 487 sold under list price. Next, I take a look at the different price categories for homes. Okay, 500,000 and above, that's 28.13%, so that is an increase from last week. Homes that sold in the 400s, 10.27%. Homes that sold in the 300s, 22.38%. Not much change there, pretty constant across the board here. Homes that sold in the 200s, okay, 26.9%. And homes that sold below 200, 12.32%. All right, so we see there that those homes that sold in the 200s and the ones that sold for $500,000 and up were our biggest categories, okay, the winners. All right, and again below the numbers are the actual units that sold for those price categories. I look at the new homes and chart the same thing, homes that sold under list, at list, and above list, and you can see here that 72.83% sold under list. Homes that sold at list, okay, just over 12.5%, and homes that sold above list, okay, just over 14.5%. All right, and here's the numbers of the actual units that sold for that. All right, now here is where I look at the median price of the homes, single-family homes, townhomes, and condos. Like I said, I'm the only show that I know of that does this on a weekly basis. You can see here, and then you can compare with the previous, 3 weeks. We've got $365,975 for single-family home median prices. Square footage, $204 a square foot. Townhomes, the median sales price, $259,495, and the square footage, $185. And the condos came in at $230,000 for the selling price, and $206 for the median price per square foot. And then just take a look at the other weeks and see how it fluctuated. Okay, this chart here is where I show the original list price, the list price, the list price is the one that they lowered it to, that the seller lowered it to. Then the closed price is what they ended up selling it for. I show the difference here between the closed price and the original list price, and that's what you see in this column here. So you see all the minus signs are the ones that sold below list. All right, and then I show also the sold price per square foot to that, and the days on the market, okay? And then I go all the way down. These are all the units that sold. And what we're going to do, I'm going to scroll it, and you can stop it if you'd like, or just download this sheet. And as we get down into the to the zeros, then that will be where they sold at list price. But look at all these and how much below. So, don't be afraid to put in an offer, okay? Because you look at what people sold for, but then look at those days on the market. They're really all over the place on this, okay? So there really isn't a lot of scientific data to show. Although, when you get to the ones that sold at list price, you see the days on the market, are a lot less than the ones that sold below list price because they were probably overpriced, okay? And then we look at the ones that sold above list price, and there you can see, like I was telling you, those numbers aren't that great, okay, like they used to be, like in multiple offer situations. When we start getting above 10,000, then it could be more towards that, but not much. Okay, next we're looking at a map here, and this is where I take a zip code. In this case, this week is 32177, and on the map you can see where it is in reference to Jacksonville City itself. So this is in the southern part of the Jacksonville metro area, and it's actually in Putnam County and Palatka area, okay? Now, what you're looking at right now is all those little dots are the ones that are for sale in that zip code. And here you're looking at now what is sold in the last 7 days, those dots, okay? So now I'm going to take a look at those in this chart. All right, now we look at it in the chart, and we see here, these are the ones that sold, okay? And you can see here the headings at the top, what it is. The first column there is what type of home it was. The original list price closed, the difference, sold price per square foot, days on the market, the year built. Look at that, 1925 there. That's neat. I love those old homes in Palatka. That's pretty cool. Living area shows that's the square footage. Lot size in acres, if the agent put it, and in this case they did. And this was Palatka, Putnam County, and there's your zip code. Showed also the total bedrooms, bathrooms total, and then we break down the bathrooms by full and half baths, and whether it was a new home or not. And if you were interested in buying a home in that zip code, then here is the list of the homes that are for sale, and with the appropriate columns and the data below it. I'm going to go ahead and scroll these. And if you're interested in purchasing one or taking a look for a showing or anything of one of these homes, then just give us a call at the number you see above everything here. And like I said, you can stop this as you please. There we go to the end. Okay, the next chart I'd look at is the condominiums, and this is pretty much similar to what the other chart was. I'm not going to go into all the explanations since now you know how to read the charts. I'm just going to pretty much show these. And for those people that are interested in the condominiums, if you're not interested in the condominiums, then just skip forward to the next section. All right, right here we see in this week here, this is our current week, and then just like the previous yellow ones are the previous weeks. And you can see right there, it starts off in this column, the active listings for this week was 1,314, sold was 23, and so on. Okay, how did people pay for those condominiums? You see, cash is always the top one on condominiums, okay? So the cash there was like, a little over 78%, conventional 13 and so. You see the numbers also below. Those are the actual units that sold for those different types of financing. I also look at the foreclosure numbers on them too. And this probably, because the numbers are the same, they're probably the same units. Also look at sold under list, at list, and above list for the condominiums, and that's how those numbers play out there. And also take a look at the price categories, and you can see what those are. Now there's nothing new in the condos this week again, so we just move on. All right, here we got is where we look at the total stories of the complex, not the actual unit, okay? That's because of the law that requires 3 stories and above, and also the age of, 30 years, or older, and 25 years older on the coast. So people that are interested in condos, like to see this for that information. This here, I just kept it for grins to see if anyone gravitated towards condos that were 1 and 2 stories. So I just show this data. And this is what you see worked out this week and how many units sold for those total stories. Okay, this here we've got is the actual condos there, the year, and then how many stories that particular unit was. So the first one was built in 2000, it was a 1-story. The second condo was 2005 and a 1-story, and so on. I'll scroll this for you, and then again you can stop that as you'd like. This is the counties where those condominiums were sold. And I also do that same type of chart here where I show the difference, show the type of financing, days on the market for them. And I'm going to scroll this also, and you can pause it as you like. Hey, if you like the way I put this show together with all these numbers and all the data I bring to you every week, then just give me a thumbs up for the show. And if you'd like to be part of Bubble Watch Nation, then just hit that subscribe button and subscribe to us. Now, what we're going to do next is look at what is called MLS Advantage, okay? Up here, this Jacksonville metro area is like 9-county area, as you can see on this map here. Some people say 7, I say it's more like these 9. Now, there's all these other MLS boards. I belong to Northeast Florida MLS, which is the largest board. That's where all that data that you just saw, from these sheets came from. But what I do now is I take these other boards and combine their sold data for this whole area up here. And then I put it into an Excel sheet and I break it down by counties, where the sales are by counties, so you can see which counties had the most movement and the most sales. Also, the total at the bottom makes it real easy to see where we were last week and the weeks before to see that trend going up or down. All right, so right now let's get into MLS Advantage. All right, here we are in the back end of my MLS account under the MLS Advantage part. Okay, down here we've got the 9 counties: Baker, Union, Bradford, Clay, Nassau, Duval, St. Johns, Flagler, and Putnam. Over here I hit the search button, and that brings us to 659 properties. All right, here now I put those numbers into the chart for the sales and break it down by counties. And you can see Baker there had 6, so that was an increase, even though, a pretty good increase, even though Union County had zip for the week. Bradford County came in and tied with last week at 5. Clay County had an increase to 64 this week. Nassau County, 46, slight increase. Duval County, 278, up a little bit. St. Johns, 142. Flagler County at 89. And Putnam County came in with an increase that brought it up to 29 for our total of 659. And so here at the bottom, you see that? Those are your totals from the previous weeks. That's what I like about this chart here. You really, at a quick glance, just see, what the total solds were. I am a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Florida, and I work with a select group of agents up here in this North Florida area particularly. So if you're looking to buy or sell a house, then just give us a call at this number here and we'd be happy to help you. And also, if you just want to put us in the mix when you're interviewing agents, that too will show you what we can do for you. All right, now let's get to what I was talking about, the Citizens Insurance, okay? This here, like we've been told that, the last few months that other carriers have been picking up some of the Citizens policies. So there's less of them because Citizens is the higher premium, okay? So people want to try to avoid that, but they haven't been able to because there's so many carriers who are leaving the state. So let's look at this chart and see what's really going on with Citizens. Have they been really reducing policies, and where are they at as of the end of last month? All right, here we're looking at this chart, and we are on the Citizens Property Insurance Corporation's website here, and we have the part of it that breaks down the policies that are in force. So that big number there, 1,407,805 policies in force right there, was in September of 2023. Now, I may have said, misspoke and said last year, but it was actually in 2023 for that it reached the peak. But my point is, let's look at how it's gone down. But first, let's scroll down here and see how far they go back with this. Okay, they start there at 2018, the last month, and you can see the difference in policies. Okay, look at that, and in all through 2019, pretty much stayed about the same. Okay, they're in the 400,000s. Okay, 2020. Okay, for the most part, until we got near the end of the year, it started to uptick. 2021, we saw a really big increase. Okay, going there where you hit, ended up at 759,000. 2022, it progressively got worse, and we hit 1 million right there in, let's see, that was in August of 2022. Okay, and remember, also in May of 2022 is when everything started going to crap with the interest rates and the housing market too. So it was just bad all around. And as we look through 2023, just keeps increasing to where we hit that 1.4 million. All right, now we look at 2024 last year. We see that it started going down, again, but then it kind of ticked up some, so it was up and down. But near the end of 2024 here, we saw us dip below 1 million again, for the first time for a while. So that was in November. And here, as we are in 2025, we see the drop continues to happen to where right now, last month's numbers for February, 847,571 policies. And we hadn't seen anything that low except back there around in April of 2022. So again, that's going in the right direction too. For a lot of people, that doesn't make a whole lot. They're looking at that monthly insurance bill, no matter who it's from, whether it's Citizens or somebody else, And they're seeing, you know, Florida has, you know, pretty much the highest rates in the country just about, although I don't know, with all the wildfires in California, they may be catching up, and some of these areas that are hit by all these tornadoes. There's just weather events all over the place. But Florida does have definitely an issue, especially when we got slammed with the hurricanes this previous year. Okay, so this is week 45 of this show of season 3, and it is in the can. And until next week, I'm out of here.